The second game on Saturday is going to tip at approximately 8:50 p.m. Eastern on TBS. It's the headliner, Duke, Carolina, for the first time ever in the NCAA tournament. Deadleg, are you brave enough? Are you brave enough to pick North Carolina?
I'm certainly brave enough. I don't know if I'm stupid enough. That's
you
the
think
question.
It would be stupid to pick North Carolina?
No, I'm just having a little fun here.
That is.
Listen, we are the first college basketball podcast that ever went to video. All right. And we are the college basketball podcast that broke the news that this is Mike Krzyzewski's final season. All right. We're also one of the few we might be the only college basketball podcast willing to talk about this game. Like, it doesn't feel like this game is getting any attention right now. It's Wednesday of Final Four week. It's about damn time we talked about Duke versus North Carolina. Question for you. Who is better served right now? Who's better served by the result that happened in the last game at Cameron? Which team?
Duke.
Why?
Because if what happened in Cameron didn't happen in Cameron, Duke would be 2-0 against North Carolina. And at risk of maybe saying we've already beat this team twice, we're going to handle this again. No problem. But Carolina not only beating Duke at Cameron, but smacking them around. I think Duke will now be more focused than they could possibly otherwise be. This is a game they wanted in the ACC tournament and then didn't get it, but they wanted it. Paulo Banchero, and we talked about this on a previous podcast. I can't remember if it was with you or with Kyle Boone, Strongjaw, maybe David Cobb, but like, you never see this, in a tournament setting. A sideline reporter at the end of the game might ask, so it's either this or that. What do you prefer? And they say, we're just focused on us. We're just happy that we're good there, and we look forward to playing. And Paulo was like, North Carolina. We want North Carolina.
I loved it.
I loved it too. And then Virginia Tech beat North Carolina, and we didn't get that game. So I don't know if you saw it.
I did, and I love this even more.
It was great. Tracy Wolfson, the great Tracy Wolfson. So Duke wins its Elite Eight game over Arkansas, and Tracy says, hey, I got to ask, it's North Carolina St. Peter's in the Elite Eight. Who would you rather play? And he said, you're not going to get me this time. And went from there, which I thought was perfect. But clearly they wanted North Carolina, and now they get North Carolina, and I think they'll be focused for it. Could they be too focused, too hype? I mean, maybe, but this is the Final Four. You're going to be too hype anyway.
Yeah, so I there's a lot of fascinating angles to approach this game. Having that game as backdrop, I was obviously there at Cameron Indoor, and I do think Duke is slightly in the better position psychologically with all this now, because it's easy to forget this part after the fact because Carolina won, but everyone listening, if you listen to podcasts, read CBSSports.com, intake college basketball media, and you do it, as part of your daily routine as a sports fan, you will remember this being the case. And I wrote about it at the time. A Duke Carolina game in the modern media landscape that there had never been a scenario where one of the teams playing in the game was reduced to an afterthought. And that's exactly what happened in North Carolina in that spot. It was, we kind of got to invite you here, scoot on over 8 miles up the road, get your 40 minutes in, take the L, head back home. Appreciate you coming. Thanks so much. And because of that, I actually think it really served UNC tremendously well. I also had detail in that column that night when they won. Like Hubert Davis, the previous game, I can't remember if it was Clemson. I don't have their roster up. Or maybe it was Wake. They had won a game, and then like the second Hubert Davis walked in the locker room, the next game was Duke, and it was like, no time to celebrate. Duke prep starts right here, right now. Right here, right now, because they had kicked their ass the previous time, and all of that served Carolina well. Kind of like sitting and hiding, getting 3% of the media coverage leading up to that game. I think the fact that Duke went through all of that going up to the game, it was basically as big of a media event that you could ever have that's not in the Final Four. It was incredible how much attention all the media that descended upon Durham. Obviously, it had like a huge college football Saturday tailgate feel. The players had to talk about it. Everyone knew, right? So I think that it actually serves Duke well that it's still going to be bigger here at the Final Four, but that they went through those motions. I think it actually does serve them well. As for the result, it's interesting. I think in terms of like the fans on each side of this, if you're a Duke fan, you're way more stressed on this. Like Carolina, I get it. You don't want to lose to Duke for the first time in the tournament on a Final Four stage. I understand that. Like, and a Duke win over UNC on a certain level, it does not erase what happened at the end of the regular season. It just doesn't. But if Duke could beat Carolina and then win the national championship, I mean, it's as much possible redemption as you could possibly ask for outside of like beating UNC in the ACC tournament, which just didn't happen, right? So I think if you're a fan of Duke, your anxiety levels are a bit higher. If you're Carolina, they're still there. But man, GP, it just feels like it's a bit of a house money situation. And if I'm UNC, even though we got to go in, we got to execute, we got to outplay Duke. Duke's played amazingly well. Carolina has as well. And it has under its belt the fact that the most recent time that these two teams played, we went into your house and we absolutely trounced you. We kicked you out of your own gym. So I think and I can't wait to see on Thursday and Friday how much that result is downplayed by everyone, even though you can't downplay it. Like the players are going to be like, it's a whole new game. That was that. This is this. That was then. This is now. I don't want to hear any of that. Carolina fans and those Carolina players know that they completely de-pants Duke in that game. And I think that does give them a little bit of an edge too, but I slightly give it to Duke because it has, it's the one that gets to avenge the loss. They are 1-1. Duke does have a win as well. But I think everything, pertaining to the mind going into this and the minds, I think it's awesome. This is the biggest, I got to ask this on Radio GP, biggest national semifinal
ever,
maybe ever, or I kind of, now I was too young. You were obviously, I think you were sophomore year of college. Duke going against undefeated UNLV the year after that one. Now that, and as a youngin, I remember loving that UNLV team, but I was just, I was 9-10 years old. That one feels like it's the only thing that's close. But to me, Duke UNC, first time ever, Coach K going out. This is the biggest national semi ever.
Maybe Duke UNLV is considered the biggest national semifinal because of the way because of the result of it.
Right.
Not going into it, but because of the result of it. Whereas this is one that's going into it feels like it's
UNLV was undefeated. That's the only thing. So that did ratchet it up. We don't have an undefeated factor here.
I went through a lot of the Carolina stuff on a previous podcast, so I won't bore you with every detail again. But after they lost to Wake Forest by 22, they dropped to 12-6 overall. They had 4 losses by at least 17 points. They were down to 43rd at KenPom. They lost to Pitt on February 16th, dropped to 49th at KenPom. But since they lost to Wake, they're 16-3. Since they lost to Pitt on February 16th, they're 10-2. Check this out. I don't know if I've ever taught you this, but I will, once we get to the offseason and things slow down. You can go to barttorvik.com and put a start date and an end date and look at data from 2 defined moments in time. And so if you go to February 17th, 2022, the day after Carolina lost to Pitt, and you run the data from that point to this point in the season, and it's a 6-week sample size, by the way, not insignificant. 6-week sample size. Would this surprise you? UNC, according to barttorvik.com, over the past 6 weeks, has been the 7th best team in the country. Duke has been the 11th, 4 spots below North Carolina. Be careful, dead leg. Be careful.
What number did you have for Carolina?
7th.
Well, would this surprise you? If you reduce
Nothing would ever surprise me.
If you reduce that and go tournament only, Carolina's been the best team in the tournament. Number 1 in the country. Texas A&M number 2, by the way. Texas A&M in the NIT title game.
I tell you, if Buzz is going to go on a rant about getting left out of the NCAA tournament, he's it's working out. Like this is working. This is what you got to do.
It's working. But yeah, Carolina is number 1 in the past 2 weeks in all of men's college basketball efficiency standpoint. Amazing. I'm getting clapbacks saying if I misstated, I'm going to be clear on this. I am not saying that the last game at Cameron was bigger than Duke versus UNC in the national semifinals. I said it was as big of an environment, not in a Final Four in the regular season, as you could possibly ever have. And that's factual. That's true. There had never been a regular season game with more hype, attention, anticipation than K's last home game, and it happened against Carolina, but it's not bigger than this game.
You haven't been talking publicly long enough. I learned a long time ago.
It's been 10 years.
It is wild how often people can listen to you say something and just totally misrepresent it or misquote. It happens to me I used to get people sending me stuff like GP, like I used to have like prominent people call me and be like, GP, man, I heard what you said and blah, 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 blah. And I'd say, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. Well, that's what I heard you said. Well, did you actually hear it? Well, no, somebody told me. Well, please go back and listen. And then you'll see that person lied to you. Not intentionally, so maybe it wasn't a lie, but they misrepresented the point that I was making.
Understood. I'm going to take Duke to win. I think I'm leaning Duke to win, Duke to cover. I can be talked off that, but I don't know if I will be. I've also been influenced here by the fact that I've seen every single Duke second in person since the Carolina loss, all the ACC tournament games, and then everything through the NCAA tournament, shooting 54% from the field. And I mentioned this on the hit I did with GP on HQ. It's the fact that Duke has consistently gotten good games out of every single player that matters. There hasn't been a guy who hasn't been picking up his end of the bargain. Everyone is producing, particularly at the offensive end, but even defensively, Duke has been able to turn it on. And it's because of that I'm gonna take Duke to win the game. I'd love to be wrong. If you tell me North Carolina beats Duke, I will be wrong. And I'm not saying that it can't happen. It absolutely can. If ever there was an opportunity for throw out the record books, yada, 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 it would be this kind of game, and Hubert Davis ending Coach K's career. His career is on the line in this game, and the fact that it's Duke UNC is just, it's utterly phenomenal, man. I truly like, this is going to sound, cliche. GP, I feel blessed that we get to cover this thing. These are the glory days, okay? Right now, right here.
Now? Oh,
these are the glory days.
I felt like my glory days were clearly behind me. No,
we're getting Duke, Carolina in a Final Four, and Kansas Villanova is the other one, man. This is awesome.
Oh, wow.
Incredible.
I thought it was over for me, but
it's not over.
You're saying I'm experiencing my glory days right now.
Yeah. What's that shirt, by the way? I can't read. What's the top of that say?
It says more.
More is possible.
More is possible.
At this Final Four, more is very much possible there. Very much possible. So I will take Duke to win. Again, we'll break down some more of this. Hey, maybe I changed my mind before Saturday. I don't think I'm changing it on this, but I do wonder if, because Duke's going to be overwhelmingly picked to win. I'll be interested to see who does pick Carolina straight up to win this one, because UNC will obviously have plenty of motivation to prove the haters and the doubters wrong yet again. But everyone's on the ground here. All the teams are here. And Saturday, it'll be here before you know it, but it feels like a little bit of a long walk before we get there, GP.
I can't show you the back of the shirt because we got to get going here pretty soon. But on the back, it says, on your first date, long before you ever get married. And then it says, more is possible.
Okay. There we have it.
You don't have to wait. More
That's
is
right.
possible.
That's
tonight.
right.
I did get some hypothetical future lines on the national title game from Bet Online AG earlier today.
Before you say this, I believe on the last podcast, I told you Duke should and would be the favorite to win the national championship. And you said it would be Kansas.
That's true.
Okay.
I was wrong. You were right.
Oh, I don't have it. I should have it queued up. Okay,
But what I'm about to hit you with might put a wrench into things.
I was wrong. Okay, go ahead. I know. That's why I saw your tweet, but yeah, go ahead.
So if it ends up being Kansas against Duke in the title game, which is what, that's the most likely of the possibilities. That's the most likely one.
Come on, Duke.
According to Bet Online AG. Now, listen, other places it might be different. This is strictly according to them. This ain't GP's numbers. This is Bet Online AG. Kansas would be a 1-point favorite over Duke. If it's Kansas, North Carolina, Kansas would be a 5-point favorite over North Carolina. If it ends up being Duke, Villanova, Duke would be a 3.5-point favorite over Jay Wright's Wildcats. And if it is Villanova, North Carolina in the title game, Villanova would be a 1.5-point favorite over North Carolina. So I recognize that in the betting markets right now, Duke is a slight favorite to win this title above Kansas. But according to Bet Online AG, if Duke Kansas play on Monday night, they would post Kansas as a 1-point favorite.
Let's go, Duke. Come on.
I mean, I got to wear out this soundboard over the next few days. Like, can we acknowledge again? Just this is incredible.
Let's go, Duke. Come on.
This was Mike Krzyzewski trying to drum up and dream up new chants. Remember when that happened? First of all, the fan base was belovedly like saying, Capel, you're our guy. Come sit with us, Capel. And like in an endearing way, he scolds the hell out of him. Remember that? Mid-game, he stares him down. You got these Duke freshmen, these trust fund kids who don't even know how to react. They don't know what to do. They've never been looked at like this in their entire life. And then after the game, he's all ticked off on that. Let's think of a new cheer. Incredible.
There's like this cliche about old people getting irrationally mad about nothing, and yet he does it all the time.
Defense.
Did you see it the other night when they were doing the post-game interview and Tracy was talking to Mike and Paulo was like, and maybe Wendell was right. They were right behind him, and Paulo was like, "This the goat, this the goat."
Yeah.
And Kate turned around and he was like, "Shut up." He's constantly telling people to shut up.
Oh man. And yet on that note, I will say, because I asked Kay about this in San Francisco, I will say that he has appeared to be fairly as loose as he possibly could be and really soaking this all in. This was extremely palpable in Greenville in particular. San Francisco, yes, but Greenville, especially there where, he's kind of like, all right, I got to really, take a look around and soak this all in because I'm not going to get to experience this again. So we'll see if it ends on Saturday or not. It's an incredible thing either way. Either he's going to the title game in his last year. Are you kidding me? Or you've got Carolina with the all-time walk-off, man. There is no coming back from that if you're a Duke fan. It doesn't matter if you win the next 4 national championships under John Shire. If Carolina and Hubert Davis can say they beat you at K's final home game, and then they booted you out of the Final Four in the first time you ever met in the tournament, and that was K's last game, K might have to unretire.